Alright, what's up guys? My name's Zane and welcome to the channel. Last weekend I got top 64 in Vancouver Regionals, placed 35th with this team in front of you. So I just wanted to go over the team, give you guys a quick rundown, what I played, why I played it, how I felt about the team. If you guys are waiting for the vlog, don't worry, that'll be out eventually. It's going to take me a couple weeks. I'm currently in the process of moving. So this Saturday I'm moving all the way to Austin from Canada, which is quite a big move. So I've been pretty busy. But basically, yeah, I played this Cali Shadow team. It performed really, really well for me. I think some of the rounds I lost were definitely winnable. It came down to a couple, wrong calls, a little bit of bad luck maybe here and there. But in general, I think my luck was pretty solid throughout the weekend, and I had pretty good matchups, but minus a couple. But basically, Cali Shadow, the whole team kind of revolves around this. It's a Focus Sash, Terror Ghost, Cali Shadow with Encore. I got this idea basically from Kyle Livinghouse, who played at UIC. I thought it was a very, very strong pick. I think it's probably one of the best sets for Cali Shadow, in my opinion. As you guys know from the last event, I'm not a huge fan of balance in this format. I feel like it's not as strong as like hyper offenses, and I think this is probably the best version of a hyper offense Cali Shadow. The truth is, you just don't have time to really set up a nasty plot, and Encore, in my opinion, is such a powerful tool, especially on Cali Shadow, because you're fast and you're not a prankster mon. Dark types can't get around your Encore. You're also outspeeding most things anyways to lock them into that move, and there's a lot of moves there's a lot of Pokemon that have multiple moves, and they want to hit Cali Shadow with one, but they really don't want to be locked into the other. Some great examples are Zamazenta, which, would love to click Heavy Slam into you. It does like 60%. But if they click Body Press, knock something out, Cali Shadow comes in. You now get to Encore them in a Body Press. You get to bring in Amoonguss. Amoonguss got Rage Powder. It's just a huge problem. Honestly, Encore just wins a lot of games that Cali Shadow shouldn't be winning. For example, Cali Shadow is really weak to priority, like Thunderclap, Sucker Punch. Because of Encore, you have the option to lock them into moves like that, and then bring in Amoonguss, Rage Powder. In end games where it's a 1v1, you're able to stall out their Suckers or Thunderclaps with Encore and Protect, and then just, end the game with Astral Barrage later. And I think this set's really good because the Terror Ghost gives you the damage that a Life Orb would probably give you. Maybe a little more. I think it's a little more. And the Sash gives you the bulk that a bulky set would give you, pretty much, for that one, letting you take that one hit from full health. Honestly, my favorite Cali Shadow set. Next up is Amoonguss. Amoonguss is very standard. It's Sludge Bomb, Rage Powder, Spore, Protect. It's Terra Fairy for the Miraidon matchup. There are some times where the Miraidon just clicks Draco, and being able to Rage Powder the Draco is very, very nice. It's also a pretty good neutral defensive typing, which is nice. This is probably the most important tool on the team for Urshifu. It's one of the only resists. Honestly, I brought Amoonguss to pretty much every single game, I think, the entire weekend. I don't think there's maybe one game all weekend I didn't bring it. It was absolute MVP. Next is Urshifu. So for my set, I went with the standard 3 attacks of Surging Strike, Close Combat, Aqua Jet. The goal of this team was either to lead something like Urshifu Torn or Pow, chip everything, and then bring in Cali Shadow at the end to just clean up and just KO everything with Astral Barrage with Terra Ghost. Or you were going to lead Cali Shadow, do a bunch of damage to everything, and then Urshifu comes in and just Aqua Jet picks up the rest of the team. So having the priority was really nice. The Terra Water lets you hit those damage thresholds that are very important. When it comes to the EV spread, I decided to go Jolly. Most people are running Adamant right now, but I felt as though I didn't really need the extra damage. There's just so much damage already on the team between Cali Shadow, Chiyu, Pow, and even Torn sometimes, that the extra damage from Adamant wasn't really necessary a lot of times. You usually get to the damage you needed to. And this speed stat, well, let me get to level 50, sorry. So at level 50 with this speed stat, you're 154, which outruns Modest, Landorus, Incarnate. And with the bulk I have, you're able to live pretty much all of Timid Lando's attacks, and you're able to live a Life Orb, Caloric Shadow, Astral Barrage. And because most people are running Adamant, you're pretty much outspeeding every single Urshifu that you come across that isn't Scarf. And to me, that was a really big advantage throughout the weekend. I think I missed one KO with Close Combat on 1 HP. But to be honest, I could have won that game if I just clicked Surging Strike first, because it was in an Urshifu mirror. And then I could have Surging Strike into Close Combat and I would have won the game. But that was my fault. I just really thought close combat was going to pick up. So honestly, really, really strong set. Mystic Water lets you hit the damage you need. But with that plus Tear Water, it's just a lot of damage, great speed, great bulk. Overall, super happy with the spread. Next, I was playing Torn. I really like Torn because I thought that Koraidon was going to be more popular, mostly because of Wolf winning EUIC with it, and I felt like in North America in general, Koraidon was, generally creeping up in usage. And then Torn also helps a lot with the Kyogre matchup because it gives you those 100% accurate Bleak Winds. It's a mon that gives you access to Tailwind, which is really, really important, I think, with a team like this. Even if you outspeed a lot of things, a lot of the teams that you outspeed are running Tailwind of their own. So being able to match their Tailwind was just super important for me. It also combos really well with Urshifu. I decided not to run Taunt on this. I ran Protect on it instead. Mostly because my plan for mons like Amoonguss was just to KO them as soon as possible. Between like Terraghost, Astral Barrage, Bleak Wind, Chi-Yu, and Pow, like most of the mons that you want to taunt would die to 1 or 2 attacks anyways. So there wasn't really a reason to waste a turn clicking taunt. I went max speed just for the mirror so that I wouldn't get taunted. Terra Dark was nice in case I was slower, like if they had Tailwind already up, or in the Caly Shadow Mirror, it was a nice Terra option because, again, since you have Sash, you don't have to worry about tearing your Caly Shadow in the mirror match because you're only going to get down to Sash anyways. So you could just use it on a more defensive mon like Torn, and it definitely came up a couple times for me. I've used it once. I think I used it once or twice. But yeah, pretty solid. I think I took the spread from NDB, to be honest with you. But it's a really solid spread, so I'm happy with it. Next is Chi-Yu. Between Chi-Yu and Pow, they kind of are filling basically the same role, which is amplify the damage of the other mons on the team. Pow is really good at amplifying the Urshi's damage. It also has access to Sucker Punch, so it has really good. It has that priority that is really good for cleaning up. Chi-Yu is good when paired with Caly Shadow because you're amplifying the Astral Barrage damage. And then Chi-Yu being Scarf is super important because it outspeeds Caly Shadow, which means that you can chip everything with Heat Wave or Snarl, and then finish them off with Caly Shadow, so Caly Shadow will still get the boosts, and Chi-Yu doesn't steal them. That definitely came up a lot for me. It's a standard set. It's just Snarl, Dark Pulse, Overheat, Heat Wave. There's nothing special about it. I think super solid mon. I'm glad I picked it in the end. The slot used to be Incin before a couple weeks ago, but I found that I could not win the Miraidon matchup because, as you'll see, my Pow doesn't have a dark move, and I could not knock out Farigiraf, which was a really big problem because it would just stay on the board too long. Because my Pow is not Throat Chop, it's running Sucker, Ice Spinner, and Sacred Sword. And the reason I went with Sacred Sword is because of the to help out with the Tropicos matchup. It gives me another fighting attack that I thought was super nice. It's really good into the Power Mirror. It helps me a lot with Incin. And all 3 of those mons are really annoying for Caly Shadow, so I thought that Sacred Sword made a lot of sense. In terms of spread, the HP is probably not too important. If you go down to level 50, it's 159. I basically just bumped up to right before the Life Orb chip, and the reason you're on Life Orb is because the Sash is on Caly Shadow. When it comes to the overall philosophy and how the team ran, it was very, very hyper offensive, where you're basically clicking attacks 90% of the time. I do have 5 protects on the team between Caly Shadow, Amoonguss, Ursh, Torn, and Pow. But to be honest with you, I wasn't really protecting that often. Protect was mostly there to stall out opponents' Tailwinds, Trick Rooms, stuff like that. Having the Protect was also very important too because it basically gave you this little mind game where people were splitting damage on me a lot because they were scared of hitting or double hitting into a Protect. And that meant that I was just, I was able to just get away with having 2 offensive mons on the board, neither of them going down, and then just them both attacking and getting a double knockout. Just getting a really, really big lead that way. Also, Encore, I talked about how good it was for just, locking people into specific moves, but just the pressure of Encore on Caly is so strong because people were just scared to protect against me. We're okay, so you put them in this weird spot where they want to protect and switch out to get better positioning, but the mon that's going to switch in is still going to take a ton of damage because it's going to eat a Terraghost Astral Barrage plus probably a Dark Pulse or a Heat Wave or a Snarl. And nothing really wants to take that, and they definitely don't want to take 2. And then again with that, even if they had a switch in, let's say Incineroar that could technically switch into both, they would switch in, protect, and then the next turn you just have Encore into the mon that protected, which is still not a good spot for them. So a lot of people were just always constantly attacking me, which meant that it was really easy to outplay them because then I was able to freely protect, get my switches in, and it basically turns all your Pokemon into like basically Urshifus, because if people aren't protecting in front of you, you're just getting free damage every turn. If you outspeed them, it feels like really bad for them. And like people were making, I would argue, really suboptimal plays just to play around the Encore. And then in general, you're just dealing so much damage to everything that you're just winning damage trades. And then honestly too, having protects on every mon lets you play that mind game where you can kind of predict where they're going to double into you. And if you get that call right, you could sometimes come back from seemingly unwinnable positions because you just protect on a double up, get free damage or a free switch, and then you're just in like a really, really good spot from there. So I just felt like, yeah, having all those protects was really, really nice. So when it comes to the weaknesses of the team, I think the two biggest ones that were the most glaring to me were Flutter Chiyu and Landorus was a little bit of a problem, especially Scarflando. So when it comes to Flutter Chiyu, you do have answers. Another big reason I didn't mention this is why I have so much speed and why I'm jolly on Ursh is because with Tailwind, you outspeed max speed, booster energy Flutter, which is very, very important because it lets you click Tailwind and then threaten it with a Terra Water Surging Strike to get a KO. Or Terra Water Aqua Jet also picks up Chiyu with no bulk. So you threaten KOs on both, which puts them in a weird spot. The problem is that that's my only real good lead into that, into Flutter Chiyu. So if my opponent does predict that and leads something else, it can put you in a tough spot if the other half of their team is good in Tornursh. Versus Lando, I still have to figure out what exactly the best lines are. The problem was, so Life Orb Lando is not too big of an issue because Urshifu outspeeds Modest and lives the Timid easily. Not easily, but it lives the Timid. But if they click Sandsteer, they still get a ton of damage in, and a lot of these Lando I teams were on like Caly-S teams with like Raging Bolt. If they had that combination, I'd have to like lead like Amoonguss plus Urshifu for the Lando. But if they lead Caly-S, it'd be a little bit of an issue for the Amoonguss. But I didn't expect it to be that as common as it was, but I think I played like 4 Scarf Lando I think 5 Lando I in total, 4 of them were Scarf, and basically all of them were on Caly-S teams that were Terra Water Caly-S. So it didn't feel good. I beat all of them except for one, so I ended up doing pretty well into it, but that was definitely something that was a glaring issue with the team, in my opinion. So if I was to bring this team again, that's something I would try to solve for. In terms of the weakest link, I think Pow is probably the mon that I'd be most likely to cut. It does offer a lot of great utility. Ice Spinner is such a good move for just removing terrain. Being able to even remove grassy terrain, so that way they can't like grassy glide your Cali or your Urshifu is really, really strong. But I don't know if I need this mon. I think it could be something else. I don't know what it would be right now, but I think maybe something that could give you a better matchup into Lando would be nice, or something that could help out the Murata matchup would also be nice. That'd probably be what I would do if I were to, make any changes to the team. I think besides that, the team did function how it was supposed to. It did what I wanted. It felt really good. Again, I think I said that 4 times, but it felt that good. Like it was a nice team. So I was happy with it. Great tournament. Did really, really well. Missed out on top 32 by just like 3 spots, which is a little bit unfortunate, but not much you can do about that. It is what it is. But yeah, overall great weekend. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the team report. And then yeah, I'll see you guys next time.